This episode is sponsored by Repos Production. To episode 62 of the Board Game Geek podcast, where we geek out about board games, the mechanisms behind them, and the people who create them. I'm your host, Candice Harris, and I am super stoked to be here today in the same room as my dear friend Amanda Panda, who you might recognize from her recent cameos on Game Night or on Twitch, where she is often streaming games, live streaming games. How's it going, Amanda?
So good. Thank you so much for having me in your beautiful home.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, it was great because, you live in the LA area, but we don't get to see each other that much because we live so far away and, just have crazy schedules. So it was nice to spend the afternoon with you.
Yeah, it's true for all the LA content creators. It's like I only see them when someone has like a game day or I see them at cons across the country.
Right?
Yeah.
That is something where it's like, I haven't seen Amanda all year except at PAX Unplugged or something for a split second when we're like running past each other.
Yeah.
But what's new with you otherwise?
No, I'm still Twitch streaming 4 days a week. I'm trying to do more YouTube and getting into like edited videos and stuff like that. And so that's been a lot of fun. It's a learning curve for sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But other than that, I'm really ramping up how much we work on making the Rose Gauntlet Foundation events a bit better. So those are BIPOC Lounge at Gen Con, Big Gay Dinner at PAX Unplugged, and Game Changers at PAX West.
Awesome. For people out there, Amanda, who maybe don't know that a lot of people out there live stream board games, you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, so I started out getting a bunch of people together to play games during the pandemic. And my very first stream was for Extra Life. On my birthday, I had over 20 people cycling in and out.
Ah, cool.
And that was with 1 week of learning how to do things. But yeah, what I like to do, I like to get the designer or the marketing person from a publisher or like the head of the publishing company to come. We do a little mini interview and then we play the game that they're interested in advertising, right? And we allow a Q&A. The great thing about lives is that you get to ask the questions directly from the horse's mouth.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I've jumped on a couple of live streams before, but I don't typically see too many nowadays. But during like that pandemic 2020, 2021 period, it was like all about live streams. And it's cool that it's kind of carried us into a space where like Board Game Arena, platforms like that have so many games, and now people can play games together wherever they live, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, and it's so weird to be like, I am talking to someone in England, like,
yeah.
I just did a stream with Sean from Kids Table Board Game. It was an international stream because he's in Canada.
Yeah.
So it was like an international tournament of the game, which he sharked me in and totally beat me. But other than that, it was fun.
Awesome. Yeah, this has been a busy start to the year for me, but I'm pretty excited about I'm excited about so many games right now, which is crazy because some of them are games that I don't have yet. I'm also really excited about a lot of older games lately. Like I brought my copy of Five Tribes in from the garage for the first time in 6 years. Almost since I've been gaming, I have had Five Tribes. I've held on to it. The first time I played it, I loved it, and I went nuts, got all the expansions. But now there's so many new games dropping, but I've been craving older games. I want to revisit Le Havre and some of these games that have kind of stayed in my collection for years and years that I don't get to play often. I'm going to start playing them more.
Nice. Yeah, I was all Cult of the New, as most content creators are. But now, especially with BGA, like I can now play a game like multiple times, and I feel like it's so fun to try all the new strategies, introduce new people to the same games. Yeah, it's been great.
I'm also really, really stoked for later this year. I'm going to be going on the BGG at Sea cruise that's leaving from LA October 3rd, I think, to the 10th. I'm stoked about it because I hear about people who have gone on BGG at Sea cruises, the Dice Tower cruises. I used to want to go on a like funk music kind of cruise.
The JoJo cruise? Is that
what is it?
I think it's the JoJo cruise that Danny Quash and
I don't know that one.
And that one has like a lot of celebs that go on that one.
Yeah, so there are all these like themed cruises, and I've just never been on a cruise before, but I'm so stoked. So if anybody in LA is looking to cruise and play some board games, it's gonna be, like I said, October 3rd to the 10th, because Essen is later this year. It's later in October.
Where is it going to?
It is going to south to a couple spots in Mexico. Like I want to say like Puerto Vallarta, and I don't remember. Oh. I don't remember anything else. I just remember board game cruise.
Well, if you do go to Puerto Vallarta, try ziplining. It is beautiful ziplining out there. I'm afraid of heights, and I loved ziplining.
Really?
Yeah.
How much tequila did you have?
None. Maybe afterwards.
Anyways, so I recently discovered a couple of cooperative games that I've really been digging. So today I pitched to Amanda. I was like, hey, you want to talk about some co-op games that we've been enjoying? I did an episode a year or two ago on cooperative games, and it was like, my favorite games at the time, but I feel like so many new ones have come out, and I'm discovering some slightly older ones or slightly newer, whatever way you want to look at it. So I've been just like really excited about cooperative games.
I love cooperative games. Unfortunately, my two favorite gaming partners dislike them. And I'm like, I'm surrounded by all these people, and then I forget who will play a cooperative game with me.
Yeah.
So like, I was like, wait, do I have enough cooperative games? And then I started going through, and I'm like, yes, I do. I do love my cooperative games.
That's awesome. And you know what? Like, our game a couple years ago was me, you, and Jackie. We played Spirit Island together.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, that Spirit Island game, like, resonated with me so much. Like, that was the game that made me realize how much I love that game and appreciate it. Our group dynamic that day was just so on point. It was so fun and collaborative. And yeah, just something like when I left that night, I was like, Spirit Island. But I'm not talking about Spirit Island today. I'm talking about other games.
Oh yeah, it's not even on our list.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
it can't be, because I think people know I love it, and so many people love it. And I'll talk about Spirit Island more at some point when I get through all the new spirits in Nature Incarnate. Anyway, before we start talking about co-op games we've been enjoying, I'd love to hear what you've been playing lately, Amanda. So let's jump into fresh plays.
So the game that I've been playing the most lately is Darwin's Journey by Simone. I am going to butcher every name I say. I do apologize in advance.
Do it too. Everybody does it.
Yeah.
It's okay.
So it's Darwin's Journey.
We try.
Yeah. By Simone Luciani and Nestore Mangone. Yeah. Released in 2023. Published by Thundergrift Games for 1 to 4 players. I backed it, and it came in, and then I backed the newest expansion that just ended on Kickstarter. Like the big box and everything. It was so funny because it's been on my shelf of opportunity, but then it went on BGA, and then I had a friend like teach it to us. And now I'm in 3 concurrent games of it at the same time. And I just taught Jackie it too.
That's awesome.
We got her group to like play it right now too. So, man, in Darwin's Journey, you're supposed to be like reliving Darwin's memories, but I just feel like you're like Darwin. You're exploring. There's a map. You have to sail to different islands. You have to go on to the, run around the different islands to collect specimens. Then you have to take them to the museum in order to, get paid and get renowned.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to, get seals in order to, collect contracts, which gives you more stuff. It's so combo-licious good, too, as well. And it is a worker placement game. So you can get knocked out of some of the good, placements.
Yep.
But the great thing is that, the basic placements are always open. But yeah, it's one of those, like, some things are rushes and, you have to get there first. And some things are like, oh, it's okay. But there's different ways to play, so.
Have you played, like, there's already an expansion out right now, right?
I think so, yes.
Have you played, well, I guess you haven't played it if you said I think so.
I know the Kickstarter just came out with another one, but I'm not sure if, like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only played Darwin's Journey once, and I liked it, right? But I didn't love it, and I know so many people who love it, and I don't know if it's just the Omni gamer in me that is getting more more picky when it comes to Euros and like wanting. I don't know what it is, but I thought it was very beautiful and like I enjoyed it, but I wasn't like, I gotta play this again. But a lot of people I know are like hooked on Darwin's Journey, especially when it first delivered. And it's funny because like I was looking, you mentioned Thunder Griff Games, and I was like, why does that publisher sound so familiar? Well, this coming weekend is Strategicon, our local Los Angeles convention, and I'm buying a copy of Iwari from someone. Oh. And I don't, have you ever played that or heard of it?
I heard of it.
It's area control, so I know. Oh, Amanda does not like area control, but it's a reimplementation of an older game, and it was, I think, crowdfunded. I don't know how long ago, but it's something that's like right up my alley, and I'm gonna buy somebody's Kickstarter deluxe version of it. And I was like, Thundergriff Games, okay.
Yeah, so that was my game, Darwin's Journey.
Awesome. Well, the first game I'm going to mention is a game called Fives, which is a reimplementation of a game called The Green Favora, which I played years ago. And we actually just played Fives, so I could introduce it to Amanda and Matt. And this is designed by Taiki Shinzawa, and it was originally released in 2022, I think by a Japanese publishing company, or maybe possibly self-published. But now CMYK has a hot new version. And when I say hot, I mean hot pink. Because CMYK just dropped this Magenta series announcement on February 11th. And I think starting later this month, February 26th, they're going to launch a pre-order where you can get this game and like 3 other games. And they're all games that previously existed. Like there's one that's a reimplementation of Illusion, that game where you're trying to figure out, how much more or less a certain color is present in these crazy trippy images. But anyway, Fives is a trick-taking game where you have a deck of cards that has like 4 suits, and every single card has a pink 5 on the back. It's white with a pink 5. And you're going to play a must-follow trick-taking game, but the twist is you can sometimes play one of your cards face down as a pink 5. And it's very nifty because only one person can ever play a pink 5 into the trick. You can sometimes use it to bury a card. And why would you want to bury a card? Because of the way the scoring works. So this is a game where when you win a trick, like you take the whole stack of cards you won, put your card on top, and that value of the card you won the trick with is your points. So you're going to play the whole hand of cards, and every time you win a trick, you have a pile of tricks that have the card that you won, and you're trying to get the sum of those cards to be as close to 25 without going over. And then if you're me, you're trying to like get other players to bust. because the way the scoring works is whoever gets closest to 25 wins the round, and they will get, well, in a 3-player game, they will get 2 points. If you get exactly 25, you get 3 points, and whoever has the second closest value without busting would get 1 point. Now, for those players that bust, they have to give the player who did the best one of their points. So everybody starts with 5 points, and it is just wild and thinky, and it's crazy when you get down to those last few cards. I mean, Amanda, what did you think playing it for the first time today?
I mean, those last 2 cards are very important. Like, because I played the very last round, I played a card face down as 5 pink. And Candice did not have anything but the Trump suit and had to win like a lot of points. And I busted her because she had so much glee busting me and Matt. And I was like, yes, we got her at least once.
Yeah.
She still won the game, y'all. She still won. But we got her, okay? We got her once.
Yeah, it's one of those games. It's one of those games where it's like you are trying to avoid busting, but then you also, like in a schadenfreude way, like get pleasure when your opponents bust. But it was a really close game. Our 3-player game, you play 4 rounds, and I ended up with 10 points, and Amanda and Matt had 8 points. So it was very close. And that was after I busted on that last round and had to like give you one of my points, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, that's 5s. And I just want to say, like, I'll probably do a YouTube short on this set. This was provided to me as a review copy. This production is so unique and gorgeous and plastic free. And you have these, like, each of the games in this set are the same size. And you might think like, oh, 5s, it's a card game. Like, why do you need, it's like, the box is larger than you would need for this actual game. But oh my gosh, the way the rulebook fits in, these chunky point tokens are like, didn't they feel like almost like poker chips?
Yeah.
They're nice and big. My only complaint is that the series is called Magenta, and I feel like it's hot pink. They're all like hot pink, but it's like popping.
It should be called the Pink Pony Club series. I think that was a missed opportunity, is all I'm saying.
But yeah, and like I think the other games in this set are like, and I don't know if you could probably buy them individually or as a set. I'm not sure about that, but the one of the games is a reimplementation of, I think it's Reiner Knizia's No Mercy. One is Illusion. I forget who designed Illusion. And then the other is, wait, that's Fruit Fight. Oh, Team Play. The other one is a reimplementation of a game called Team Play, which is a super cool team game that I played years ago, but I haven't had a chance to play the new one yet. But anyway, if you like trick-taking games where you have to think a bit and like do some tricky stuff, this is called 5s. What else have you been playing lately?
I blame Jonathan Liu, the Geek Dad, for this, as I blame a lot of games in my collection for him. It is called Dice Cards. Both Dice Cards and Darwin's Journey I've just purchased on my own. This one's designed by Tucker Smeeth, released in 2023 by Card Lords. It says player counts 1 to 99.
Nice.
It is... It has no theme. Basically, if you love roll and writes, you need to get this game. It is 50 different mini roll and write games that is like doubled. And what you're going to do is you're going to get 6 mini roll and write games to play at the same time.
What?
Yeah, but you have 50 rolls of the dice. One of them's black, one of them's red. You're gonna either choose one of the dice's value or the sum of the dice's value to write on one of your cards. Okay. And you have 50 turns to get as many points as possible. And when you finish cards, you get points. When you finish parts of cards, you get points. And you can get, I forgot what it's called, but it's a thing that allows you to change one of the dice plus or minus 1. But it's so fun because there's one that's connect the dots and you have to connect it in order, 1 through 10 and then a picture. There's a Sudoku. There is like a weird seesaw. There's one where you're creating outfits for dolls and you have to mix different outfits. Yeah, it's very unique. Everything you can think of. And you'll never finish all 6 cards, but you're just trying to get the most points. And it is so fun. It is quick. It's easy to learn. But it's definitely replayable.
What does it look like?
Because it's a deck of cards but it's dry erase.
Oh.
And I have to say the dry erase pens are like the best because they have such there's a smart, they're tiny cards. These are poker sized cards. So the dry erase pens has these really fine point to it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it is so good. I kind of want to just get the pens as, like, just in case.
Yeah.
Or for other games. Yeah, but no, because you have 100 cards plus everyone gets a card to keep track of what round they're in and what your points are, you get it's a small box, but it's bigger than just a tuck box. Yeah.
Cool.
So that was dice cards.
Interesting name there.
Yeah, I know. It's like dicey cards made of dice. No, it's dice cards, which is very interesting.
So this is a very rare situation. Like usually I try to sneak in extra fresh plays. But this time, all my fresh plays are pretty much related to our co-op discussion. So I'm going to kind of move on. But I did want to quickly give a shout out to one game that I've been enjoying since I discovered it. I forget who put it on my radar. But Bullet Star. This is a real-time game where you are going to be pulling these different color and value tokens out of your bag. Everybody's doing it at the same time. And you're trying to make patterns by like dropping them in this grid you have. And then you have these pattern cards. You're trying to like get the right pieces in the right order so that you can clear them and like more tokens can come in. And when you clear them, you pass them to a pile which your opponent on your left is going to add to their bag on the next round. And it has its own soundtrack. It's super cool. I have so many of the different characters. They're all these female heroines that they're very asymmetric, really cool art and flavor text and everything. But anyway, I saw, and of course, this is after I've already like purchased a really nice 3D printed insert for my copy of Bullet, but there continues to be more and more content for this game. So they have a Game Found campaign going on right now in February for Bullet Cubed, which is, like kind of a big box storage solution for it. And then they also have like new characters and stuff. And so I'm probably going to have to get it. But it's like, how many big boxes can we have? I don't know.
You have a whole garage. I feel like you could fit a couple more in there.
Oh, we'll see. Anyways, Bullet is not a cooperative game. So... And now a word from our sponsor. Welcome to the first one deck building. Who will wear the crown? Coming from noble families, you're ready to do anything to accede to the throne, except that the competition between the pretenders is fierce. For a Crown is a game with original mechanics, combining bluffing, alliances, and opportunism. Players will be able to recruit new characters and put the purchase card in a sleeve of their own color. All cards, player cards, and common event cards are shuffled into a single deck, which is drawn card by card and resolved one by one by the relevant player. After 4 rounds, the player with the most rubies wins the game. For a Crown is enhanced by stunning artwork and components, making the game completely immersive. It's a game full of tension, dirty tricks, fallen hopes, and moving family influence. Its universe and constant interaction make it ideal for families and more experienced players alike. Let's talk about cooperative games, though. And the way I kind of pitched this to you was like, hey, what newer cooperative games have you been playing that have been exciting you? Like, these are not necessarily like our favorite cooperative games of all time. Not necessarily. Maybe. Could be. I don't know. But they are games that are kind of, exciting to us. So we actually got a chance to play some cooperative games together today, which was really nice and fun.
We played Unstoppable by John D. Clare from Renegade Games. I just got my Kickstarter copy, and it is only for 1 or 2 players. So you can play it solo or co-op with one other player. The co-op, I feel like, is just hard. But it's
we
fun.
Had some challenges.
We did, someone died. But
why are you looking at me, Amanda?
So in John Declare fashion, you have card sleeves, you are sliding cards, you are, upgrading cards. But every turn you only get one card to add to your deck. And then after that, you can play cards based on the number of action points you get. You can upgrade cards based on the number of credits you can use to buy the upgrades and slide them in. And of course, just like with deck builders, there is symbols and other words that will trigger things or combo with things. The real spin on this is that there is the others, like the front half is what you can do as your action. The back half is an attack. It's an attack. Threats on your life. But when you defeat a threat, it turns into an action card in your hand that then you can use.
That's cool.
Depending on your action points. And it's really interesting. And I love the team version because you can help other people defeat their threats. And they can help you.
Saved me a few times, Amanda.
I know.
Thank you.
And there is a boss. There's 3 bosses in the base game. But man, the boss, if you're solo, you only have to hit him 12 times. But we had to hit him like 25 times. And we got to 11 before a certain someone died.
24 times though. 24.
24. Sorry, yeah, you're double.
Because it's 12 points or 12 damage per person.
Yeah, but you only get at the beginning 2 cards that allow you to damage the boss once, and you have to really like attack them. And it ramps. They're gonna attack you for a lot more as the game alongs. You gotta attack them for a lot more, so you gotta really get those deck building. It is great, crunchiness that John Declare, will give to us over and over again. Love his games, love that guy. But man, that one, it's a hard game for sure.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because you brought this over today, and on the last episode of the BGG podcast with Jack from the Cardboard Herald, he had just played Unstoppable at a convention in Alaska with John, and so he talked about it a bit. So, and I'm curious to try it. Like, I like a lot of John's games a lot. And also I like deck building games and I like cooperative games. This one was kind of interesting to me because, number one, the cards are like cut out in like weird shapes. So to support that system of the back of the cards are threats and the front are, some either tactic or ally card that you can put into play. And it's really neat when you upgrade because you put an upgrade in between those cards.
It upgrades your action and it upgrades the attacker's
the
action.
enemy. Yeah. So it's like you could take a cool upgrade and put it on one of your cards, but it might be giving, a threat card fast, which fast is bad because that means more enemies are going to come out into the threat area, or they're like rage. They have like a couple keywords.
Did he win against John? I feel like it's so hard.
I don't remember actually.
Oh okay, y'all got to listen to that podcast and let me know.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. You'll have to keep me posted after you play it solo as well because I'm curious about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure they're going to attack me and hit me and it's going to be bad as well.
There was definitely some interesting iconography choices. And also just the sleeving of the weird shaped cards is neat, but it's definitely gonna be something that you're gonna have to factor in for setup and teardown time.
And the shuffling of these weirdly shaped cards is like so bad. Yeah. You almost just need to do the pile shuffle where you just mix it all in a pile and then sort of
yeah, probably. But that actually brings up a cool point is the leveling up system. So as you like play through your deck, you level up. Basically the way your levels are getting tracked is by these weird shaped cards, and they go from level 0, which is your starter cards, and then level 1 through 6. And as you go cycle through your deck, you're moving this token up that's your current level, but there's also like a temporary token that's on top of it. So there's some card effects that'll let you to boost ahead a bit. And at the beginning of every round, we draft cards from whichever deck our marker is on. And of course, like as you would like assume, the higher level cards are more interesting, better effects, you know, for you to deal damage, heal, get armor. There are lots of like cool little synergies and keywords. At first I was like mad at the keywords. Like I was like, focus. I was like, what does this mean? Like it's meaning something different on this card. And then unite, but I was like, oh, okay, unite is interesting because it's like you want to have a variety of different factions that you've played or that are in your hand, and then something cool happens. So there's a lot of really interesting stuff, and I'm glad you brought it over because I've been like I was curious about it after Jack talked about it. But
nice. That was unstoppable.
Yes, and we were stopped.
We were.
We also played one of the games I was really excited to show Amanda is a game called Defenders of the Wild. And this is a game that I played, well, I was excited about from the beginning because of the theme. Like you are in this game, you are animal defenders and you're trying to get rid of these machines that are trying to take over the forest. And this is a game designed by T.L. Simmons and co-designed by Henry Audubon. Came out in 2024. It was crowdfunded and they had it at PAX Unplugged. I think that was the first time it was available. And I played a couple rounds as a demo and like really enjoyed myself with the three strangers I sat at the table with. And TL happened to be there and hooked me up with a copy, which was super kind. And it's been something that I've had since like whatever, you know, PAX Unplugged December that I've been like wanting to play. And we finally played it. And it's really cool. So each player is an animal defender. You're like the leader of a bunch of animal defenders. And this is a card-driven cooperative game where you're going to be working to like clear pollution off of the board. You're going to be fighting these little mechs. You're going to be trying to breach walls because these machines are going to start building walls and making it harder to like move around. Every once in a while, they're also going to, unfortunately, build factories that you're going to have to rewild and flip them over to be nature again. It's really cool. The map is modular, so the setup is going to be varied each time you play. There are 4 different types of habitats, and there are 8 unique organizers that you can play as, like 2 per habitat. So we were, what was I, like a turtle?
I was the bear, of course.
You were the angry bear.
I was the angry bear.
I was this turtle, and depending on which factions you're playing with in this game, you will get these resource tokens that tie to the faction. Like I was like a water witch or something, and so my faction had a potion token, whereas you guys,
I was the rocket man. I was like I was a hacker, so you also get 3 different cards that are only tied to your faction, so it gives you abilities depend on who you get as a leader. So my rockets allowed me to take out those mechs, and your potions allowed to heal us or clean up the air, the pollution.
Yes, yeah. And we were like talking about it after the game. This would have been played out a lot differently if we didn't have like maybe my healing ability. But like the other factions, because we checked out their cards after, have other cool stuff. Like you can get extra actions, and I forget what the other one was, but the art is gorgeous on this game. Like the whole production I thought was like really, really nice. And it's cool that each of the organizers, they're called, has their own unique deck. You have like 6 cards in common with the other person who the other organizer that shares that same habitat type. But then you have 6 ones that are custom to you. So each type of character is going to have its own deck, and you play with that deck every game. And the way it works is you'll have a hand of 3 cards, and the round structure is super simple. Everybody's going to pick one of their cards without talking. That is the important part. Nobody can talk when you're selecting cards for the upcoming round. And so we both pick a card, or however many players, you pick a card, put it face down. And then once we've all done that, you reveal them simultaneously. At that point, whoever is the first player, well, at that point, you could start discussing strategy. Once you see, okay, what did everybody play? How are we going to start attack? Because you have to deal with pollution. Like if 3 pollution tokens end up on a space, which we learned, that space gets what's it, like a toxic tile or something? Yeah. It's not good because that's one of the ways you can lose. You know, co-op game, there are like 3 different ways you can lose, 1 way you can win. So we basically needed to build all these camps. And the way we build camps is by raising support. And there's certain actions like cleaning pollution, killing mechs that will let us raise our support level. And when you get to a certain point, then you can build a habitat, or sorry, you can build a camp. You can build a camp.
And get more cards. That's the only way you can get your cards.
Way you draw cards. That's right. Yes. Yes. What a challenge that was. Like,
oh my gosh.
You kind of like stress. Like, if you get to a point where like you're always working to build these camps because like that's part of your victory condition, but also so you can draw back cards.
Yeah. But they hit you because they can kill your defenders by they have snipers and they have mechs that just run around like finding you and like attaching to you. So you can't do anything in that hex they're in because they're just gonna kill you off. Which is why the rocket was so important. And your potion.
Yeah.
Right? If we didn't have both, we would have been like hit a lot of times because the rocket you can kill off the mech without getting damage. And the potion you can heal without getting damage, even though you're in the line of the snipers or the mechs. Yeah, it definitely has that Spirit Island vibe, but it's much easier to get into and much easier to start playing. But you are still on the, side of the land of the natives. You're trying to get and it was so funny because Matt had the 3D printer
was going,
and it sounded like the because there's engines that will build walls, and it sounded like the engines were running around the room, and I was like, that's hilarious.
It was very thematic to have the 3D printer printing at the same time that we were playing this game. Each card has a number of action points, and some of them have reveal effects or some kind of effect you'll have for the turn. But after you take your action, you then have to draw a machine card, which, that's when the machines are going to do stuff. And this was a learning game,
Yeah.
But after the first time we went through the machine deck, we were like, okay, we had it down. Like, there's certain things that they're going to do. Sometimes the engines will move, and as they move in a direction, which is kind of a clever mechanism that switches every once in a while. But they'll drop walls on, and I should have mentioned walls, it's a hex-based map, and they're going to put walls around. So at some point, when a factory card comes up, if any of the hexes are surrounded by walls, one of them is going to have a factory, and factories are bad, y'all. They're bad.
We totally messed up one rule with the factories, but that's one way to get more mechs on the board. But any mech on a factory is a sniper, which is good and bad. Bad in that it hits every hex around it, right? But good in that it only hits if it's like a 4 out of 6 chance instead of a 5 out of 6 chance.
Yes, we learned a couple things. I guess I read the rule book a little too fast. When it came to building out the factories, you're supposed to remove the walls. And we didn't realize that till like we were building like the 3rd factory.
You're like, why is there 2 guys on the middle tile? How are we going to get rid of them? Oh, we missed a big old rule.
But then, okay, so if there aren't any hexes that are surrounded by walls, then the factories spit out pollution. And each of the factory tiles has like these 3 chutes coming out of it. And then that's when you start getting in the risk of if a space ends up with 3 or more pollution, it turns into a toxic site. And then you have to go kind of clean that. But when you go to clean that, you take damage. It was really interesting. I like the simultaneous thinking of when we were figuring out which cards we wanted to play on our turn or which card. Oh, and the other thing is when you play a card, like I said, you have a number of action points. I think it's 2 to 4 action points on each of these cards.
No, there's a 1. 1 to 4.
Oh.
Because the 1 is where you don't have to draw a bad card, a mech card at the end of your turn.
Oh, well, that was in your deck. So yeah, I didn't have any ones.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. yeah, that is really cool. Yeah, some of the unique cards were quite interesting. I was like, oh, you could do that? Like, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. But each of the cards is basically a defender that's kind of like working with you, the main character, the organizer. And each defender card has a habitat associated with it. And most of the cards in your deck are associated with your primary habitat, but not all of them. So when you play a card, or when you're considering which card to play, you're looking at this habitat because for two reasons. One is that when you move and you move in the type of habitat that matches your active defender, you can treat multiple connected hexes as one space. So you can like do some further movement and, get some cool movement benefits. The other thing is they have this team up mode, so you can take another card from your hand that has the same habitat and play it for an extra action point. So it's like sometimes you need to do that. Like 2 action points isn't enough usually, but then you're playing another card and you're running out of cards and it's like, oh, well, now I got to build some camps so I can draw cards. And if you don't have any cards in your hand, you have to just pretty much play the card that's on the top of the deck. So you lose choice, but you're still in the game.
Yeah, it's really fun. We won, of course. Of course we won all the games. No, we didn't.
No.
No, we didn't. I think that was like our only win.
Yeah, it all went downhill after that. This was the first thing we played.
But that's Defenders of the Wild.
Yes. I'm looking forward to exploring this one more. And I really like the size of the box too.
I know it's tiny.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not tiny, but it's
a nice size.
Yeah, it's a small box. It's smaller than a Ticket to Ride box, but the game on the table
looks big.
Yeah.
Like you would think it'd be in like one of those bigger than Ticket to Ride boxes, but no, it's a nice size box, very well produced, lots of replay value, and there are more difficult machine cards you can put in. They sounded terrifying. We read through them, so I'm going to just play the basic mode for a while. But yeah, that's Defenders of the Wild. And we played one other game together today. Well, one other co-op game.
Buffer time.
This is a funny one. So Amanda brought over this game called Buffer Time, and it said it was like 20 minutes. So we were like, let's just break it out. So you read the rules and we started playing. And this is a push your luck cooperative game for 2 to 6 players. And it's like a spin on Star Trek. Like it's a parody of Star Trek.
It's themed Star Trek Lower Decks. So you are all the lower deckers and you're trying to, complete a mission. But you need to do all these side jobs as the cartoon happens to do, right? And in that, you're trying to, get enough people or staffing hours in order to complete the main mission plus all the side jobs in order to get leisure time. And in a 2-player game, you need to get 18 leisure time to win. But man, is it hard because guess what? The officers come and mess you up.
They do. The captain came out too many times. So what this kind of looks like is you have this like main assignment card that has a target value. And I think most of them did not have the victory point icon.
Yes, correct.
So then we have to add to that target value by playing these side quests, side jobs. And then so that's making our target value higher. Meanwhile, the other thing you're doing on your turn is revealing one of these shift cards. And they'll have a value from 1 to like
4, I think.
4 or so.
Yeah.
But in that deck, there are officers. And they have a number of icons that range from 1 to 3.
Yep, the captain has 3.
Yep. And if you ever reveal a card and hit your 4th or more captain or officer icons, you bust. It's bad.
It's so bad because you lose the card with the highest number of points, the highest number of leisure time points. And then you're like, oh, but you only have 5 assignments to get through to get the 18.
Yeah. It was tricky, but the cards are hilarious in this game. Like, I don't know Star Trek that well, but we were cracking up, especially the captain. She's mean looking. And did I flip her every time?
You were the Captain Magnet. That's why she's like, oh man, I'm not shuffling this deck anymore. You're gonna have to shuffle. Yeah. But yes, we lost.
that was a cute little card game. Pretty funny. Buffer time, the card game. All right, Amanda, what have you played recently and enjoyed that we did not play today?
So the game is called Conquest Princess, Fashion is Power, designed by Seppi Yoon and Peter Yang. It's published by Fight in the Box in 2024 for 1 to 4 players. It is a cooperative game. It was kickstarted. I think it's fulfilling this year, but I backed it. But what I did do is do a stream of it with Seppi, and we played it together, I think with Jess from Community Connections Gaming, and it was so fun. You are princesses, part of the Temporal Intergalactic Armed Response Agency, aka the Tierra, okay? And you are warriors trying to fight the invaders from space, the giant mecha monsters called Mugaga.
Okay, all right.
But the way you do it is through fashion, because fashion is power. So you're getting boots and you're getting gloves and you're upgrading your stuff. But you have certain, action points that you use through your board. You have to also fix your ship because your ship breaks down and you need to fix the replicator unit, or you need to make sure that we can see what's coming up, because you can see like the way the monster's gonna move on the monster board, how it's gonna spit like stuff at you, and you gotta support your teammates by working together in the same spot to either hit the monster or to increase the power of whatever action you're doing. It is beautiful. It's quite fun. I mean, like, the deluxe happy has light up standees.
Wow.
I know, so that you can like really be fashionable. But yeah, it is so great. Definite one that you should definitely check out. It's so fun. It is Conquest Princess, Fashion is Power.
Yeah, I have never heard of this, but that theme sounds hilarious and fun. Wow. That's cool. That's cool. Well, I think the next one I'm going to bring up, you have played before. This is a game I've been excited about for quite some time. I might have already mentioned it at some point on the podcast, but it's Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game. This just came out to retail in January of 2025. It's designed by Brian Bornmuller, and it is from Office Dog Games, right? It's a cooperative trick-taking game. Definitely like has vibes of The Crew, because that was like one of the first popular cooperative trick-taking games, but this has a Lord of the Rings theme to it. And instead of kind of competing for missions, each round after you get your hand of cards, you are going to draft characters, and you play through 18 chapters. And for some reason, when I went to PAX Unplugged and played it with Brian and a couple people from Office Dog, we played the very first chapter and we crushed it. And then they were like, oh, let's jump to chapter 5. And it was like, oh, like this gets tricky. And so I started playing this, Matt and I, with our friends Tim and Adam, because we're like, we're going to play through this whole thing. And let me tell you, I don't know if we ran out of steam, but we got to chapter 5 and I think we played it like 3 or 4 times and just could not beat it. So we were like, okay, let's call it for today, but we're going to get back to it. But I just think this one is such a cool, especially if you love Lord of the Rings, especially if you love trick-taking games and cooperative games. It's just very, very nice production. Like, the art is unique and colorful, and you have all the characters and, bits of the lore from Lord of the Rings. And it's challenging. You play the first chapter and you're like, okay, we got this. But it gets challenging, and I'm really excited to kind of like see how the future chapters play out. But we also had like a really funny moment where I think Tim and I had played, or Tim was familiar with the rules, and Matt and Adam had not played. And Tim was like, hey, whoever has the One Ring, you're going to take the Frodo card on chapter 1. And that's going to be, your character that has your goal for the round. And so Matt takes it. And then all of a sudden, like, we are about to start the first round. And then we find out that Adam has the One Ring. Matt had a 5 ring. So the ring suit is like the Trump suit in this game.
No.
And they're only 5 cards.
No, see, that's the tricky part that I always got wrong, is that the ring suit is not the Trump suit. Only the one ring. Yeah, that one card is the Trump.
Really?
Only.
The other ones aren't stronger?
They're not Trumps.
Really?
Yeah. See, I play tested this one, and then I played it twice at PAX Unplugged because we were like showing it off to other people. But yeah, the One Ring card is the only Trump.
And the One Ring card can beat the other rings, like the 5 ring. And the rings only go to 5. And I think you can choose to win. Like if rings the rings have to be broken into.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like a really, really cool, challenging game with a great theme and wonderful production.
Yeah, Brian, the designer, loved the crew, really had the crew in mind, loves Lord of the Rings. They follow the books. So they literally followed the books.
Yeah.
Like the first, chapter is Frodo, Frodo and Sam.
Yeah.
And Merry and Pippin.
Yeah.
And you will change the characters based on where in the book, which chapter of the book you're going through, and you'll meet new characters. The characters will change on you, as they do in the books. And it looks like a book. Like the box is so beautiful. It has like these ribbons that help you pull up, the cards just like in a book. But yeah, it is great. But our team got stuck on chapter 12, which also another office dog worker, his family got stuck on chapter 12. And we're like, what's going to happen with chapter 12? So when you get to chapter 12,
okay,
let me know. Report back. Did you beat chapter 12 on your first time? Because if you did, you're doing great. Yeah.
And like the other thing cool about this and also challenging is that after you get your hand of cards, similar to the crew, again, in the chapters that I've played, usually the person who has the One Ring card will be Frodo. You're forced to. But then going clockwise around the table, everybody has to take a character. And there are often characters, like more characters than players, and there are certain characters that must be included and you can't talk about it, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm like second to pick, I'm like looking at my hand and I'm picking the best thing based on my hand, but I could be screwing or making things a lot harder for the players to my left. And it's really cool to kind of get that group dynamic down when you play a game like this with the same people over and over. But yeah, that's the Fellowship of the Ring trick-taking game. I'll probably talk more about it once we finish it eventually. But it's really, really fantastic.
I completely agree. So much fun. But I also love the crew, so.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Absolutely. What other co-ops do you have?
Oh, I want to talk about this one. This is Burgle Brothers 3. Future Flip. Now, once again, I did the Kickstarter preview, played it with Tim and another friend of ours. I love Burgle Brothers. I have the original. I have Burgle Brothers 2. I played Burgle Brothers with Eric Yoko from What's Eric Playing and with my other friend, and we play it, Joe Sondow, we play it on, BGA a lot, Board Game Arena. But this is Burgle Brothers 3 Future Flip by Tim Fowers and Sky Larson, released in 2025 because it was Kickstarter last year from Fowers Games for 1 to 4 players. You are back. You are going to be burgling, but we have a cyberpunk sheen to it in that you have to hack the computers and get certain symbols, which will give you extra powers. But then you also have costumes that you can change into. Like you're changing into your Superman costume, you know?
Yeah.
And then you have different abilities, but you can't hide anymore because you can't hide as an office worker in this like new costume. But of course, it's going to be better action points. But that flip of the timing of the flip is so interesting. But you gotta go and find all the program cards to disable the safe and the, electronics of the safe to get the loot and get out alive, right? But it's harder, y'all. It's harder, but it's still so super fun. I cannot wait to get the physical copy.
Believe it or not, I've never played Burgle Brothers.
You also never played Takenoko, and that's 2 strikes, Candice. 2 strikes. Let's see if you can get number 3.
Amanda Panda is very offended that I've never played Takenoko.
Yeah.
So next time we get together, you'll bring your giant Takenoko.
I'll have to bring the giant Chiblis as well, so you'll have the giant Mama and Papa Pandas. Yeah.
But yeah, I've never played Burgle Brothers. I backed Burgle Brothers 2. I didn't get it to the table for a while, and I ended up selling it. Oh, but I really want to play one of them at some point. Like, that sounds really cool. I love when games have cyberpunk themes, too. I played Tim Fowler's game Sabotage last year for the first time, and I thought that was so cool. So I definitely want to play Burgle Brothers at some point. And is this delivering sometime this year, or it's out?
I think it's delivering this year.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Burgle Brothers 3.
Future Flip.
Nice. For another cooperative trick-taking game that I think you mentioned you played, that I just played for the first time, Sail. So Sail is a 2-player cooperative trick-taking game designed by Akiyama Kuroyo and Kozu Yusei. It came out in 2023 from Allplay, but it is a reimplementation of an older game that I don't remember who put it out. It's called Hamon Cave. And I found out about Hamon Cave somewhere from probably somebody on the PGC Portland Game Collective Discord server. But I was like, this sounds really cool. A pirate 2-player cooperative trick-taking game? And I bought it, and all the rules are in Japanese. And I reached out to Taylor Reiner and said, do you have English rules for this? And I printed out his rules or his notes or whatever he hooked me up with. And I brought it on a couple trips and never got to play it. And then Sail came out, and I backed it with like that batch of Allplay games and just played it finally last week for the first time and a couple times, and it's so good. It's such a good game. Like, you're trying to, first of all, it's scenario based. You have different scenarios you can play through, and there are different pirate characters that each player, you're both going to pick a pirate that's going to give you a special ability. You have a Kraken track, and at the beginning of the game, all of the 1s and 2 value cards of the 3 suits are in a Kraken stack. So when the Kraken damages you, those cards start moving from the Kraken stack into the discard pile, which will get shuffled as you play through rounds of this game. But you're trying to work with your partner to win tricks in a way that's going to move the ship forward in a good direction. And what I mean is, like, there are these islands on the board, there are tentacles, which if you run into the tentacles, you're going to take damage. You cannot move into an island, so you have to, like, go around it. You also have storms that you need to sail beyond before the end of the second round and fourth round. You have to, like, get far enough or you could lose the game. But what's super clever about it is this is a must-follow trick-taking game. 3 suits, but each card from, like, I think 1 to 9 has 1 or more of these, like, action icons. And when you and your partner play a card, whoever plays the highest card of the lead suit is going to win the trick. But you're going to look at the 2 action icons on the cards and hopefully get to do something cool. Like if you have 2 of the boat steering wheel things, you're going to move forward, but it's very hard to move straight ahead forward. So you're usually going forward to the right or left, depending on who won the trick. And another tricky thing besides like trying to sync up for these symbols, which you do get to pass each other a card at the start of the round. But the other tricky thing is the minute one player wins their 4th trick, that's the end of the round. And, you know, Kraken's going to do some stuff to you. You're starting to run out of time and everything. So you're really trying to like balance like who's winning how many tricks and when. And it's like really, really good. And I'm still keeping the old version because the old version has like a darker kind of pirate feel to it and really cool art. But you played Sail before.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I mean, and plus you both have to know trick taking, right? And the board is modular. So like every scenario is going to be a different set of challenges. And sometimes you just got to run into a tentacle and take the damage. I mean, there's no way around it. And it definitely is the luck of what cards you draw. But man, you want to keep on playing until you beat that scenario. It is very fun, especially if you know trick taking well and you like trick taking games. But hopefully you won't like yell at your partner too much.
Yeah, it definitely took us, like, we played the learning scenario first and we learned some things because it's like the 4 and 5 of each suit are the only 2 cards that I think that have the cannon icon. And you want to play the cannon usually with another cannon. So sometimes, like, if I'm dealt for the same suit, the 5 and the 4, I will pass one of those to Matt, who I'm playing with, so that we can wink, wink. Like, we need to make sure we play these at the same time. There's a lot of strategy that comes with choosing a card to pass to the other player. But yeah, I'm really excited. I splurged for the deluxe bits and it just looks good. It's a small box. It's challenging. And yeah, really, really solid. So that is Sail.
So my next game is Epilogue. Full disclosure, I work for the company. I'm the marketing manager, content manager for the Violet Daisy games. It is designed by Emma Larkins. It was kickstarted last year. It should be fulfilling this year. It's for 1 to 10 players. It's a cooperative storytelling game.
Ooh.
Where you're telling your group's epilogue. How did you die?
Oh,
but you have a hand of cards with letters or parts of words on them, and you have to lay them down on the table to form words and then use that word either in the part of the story that you're telling, or you have a word and then you point to someone else and they have to use that word in the continuation of the story.
Cool.
Yeah. And I love that there's a kids version that you can do where you are children and your parents just came home and you're like, what happened was, and then you go through the story of what happened instead of how you all died. I love this. Like, it's basically a tarot-sized deck of cards. It's great as just an activity, a fun game, but also you can play it as the epilogue of your RPG session. Do you know what I mean?
Ah, that's cool.
Yeah, so you can say a little bit after your RPG session to see, like, how did your story continue or end, or how did you all die at the very end. So yeah, it's really fun.
Epilogue. And it's out now or crowdfunding?
It's fulfilling now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to fulfill this year.
That sounds really cool. Like, I've been gravitating towards these games. Like, I don't know if you've played For the Queen, but like these games that are storytelling games, because I don't have much RPG experience and I find it kind of like challenges me creatively to have to come up with something. And it's just like, it's really satisfying. Like, I don't think it's something that comes easy to me, but I like being like forced to do it in a fun way like that. And I like the idea that you're working on your epilogue.
Yeah. It goes so weird. Like it goes everywhere from like you were lovers on, on a thing and then something happened, you all died. Or someone was just playing with matches and then you blow. I mean, it goes like so weird. It is so fun. And I know a lot of people like don't like improv, but you have the seed of this word that you have to continue the game, the story with. So it's like a little bit easier to get into. It's so quick. You need just a little bit of, table space, but yeah, it's great. That's Epilogue.
That's cool. I want to try that one. I definitely want to try that one. Okay, so now we're getting into the territory of probably the two games that like really drove me to want to talk about some cooperative games with you today. Which one do I start with? We'll start with we'll do them in order. Okay, so the next game I'm going to talk about is a game that was getting some really good buzz at the end of last year, and it is a game called Leviathan Wilds. This is designed by Justin Kempainen, who is one of the co-designers of Star Wars Imperial Assault, and actually like a bunch of other stuff I saw when I checked out his page on BGG. But Leviathan Wilds is a game that came out in 2024 from Moon Crab Games, who provided me a copy of the game, which super awesome. Thank you. And it plays with 1 to 4 players. This game, I am told by people who have videos on this game, is like based on like a video game called something Colossal, I think, or Shadows of Colossus or something like that. But in this game, the players are working together as climbers, and you're climbing up these huge, like, colossal creatures, these leviathans. And one of the cool things about this game is that it has this spiral-bound book that has, I think, like 18 different leviathans, and they're all very different. So it's like different boards that you play on. But what you're trying to do after you set up this game is you're trying to remove these crystals from this Leviathan. But the Leviathan kind of, we're these like little people climbing on this big creature. And so it's like gonna sometimes swat us away and attack us and everything. And there's so many really, really cool things about this game. One is each player is going to play as a character. And when you have a character, you also have, like, you'll pick a class. And your character and your class make up your deck for the game. And your deck, you have this very small deck of cards, like maybe like 10 or something like that. And they're multi-use cards, which is cool. But one thing that I love, like, thematically, is that your deck of cards is called your grip. So when you run out of cards, you fall down. And on these colossal beings, there are different spots that have ledges, but there are also, like, just spaces where you can drop down. And sometimes you want to drop down strategically because each round you are going to reveal a card for the Leviathan that you're playing on, like whatever board you're playing on. They each have their own deck of cards, and the cards are double-sided such that when you're early in the game, they're nicer effects. And as you play, some of them will flip over to the meaner side where they're a little bit more punishing. But you're going to be playing cards to jump and climb and like glide around the board in different ways. And the combination of the way you can like make your character with a different class is really, really cool. I like the working together. The production of this is really awesome. Like, you have these beautiful little translucent turquoise and purple dice, and those are representing the crystals. So when you like set up, you'll put these dice out and set them to certain values, and you need to like jump up to them. Like that's your victory condition. You need to get rid of all these crystals. So you need to like move to them, take them down. But meanwhile, the colossal being, the Leviathan, is going to be interfering with you doing that. And so you have to kind of like manage your hand of cards to know when to rest, which will let you take your cards back into your hand from your whatever the discard pile is called to your grip. And it's really clever. Like I think I've played it about 3 times now, and I found that the cooperation is really fun. You kind of feel like you're jumping around on this giant thing. And the other thing is the production of this game. I know we were talking about Defenders of the Wild, looks beautiful. And this game is one of those games like Peacemakers, Horrors of War, where the insert, every detail like was thought about, and there's a spot for everything, and it fits in so nicely. And the spiral bound book, like there's even like a little ledge for the spiral to sit.
Nice.
Yeah, like everything about this game is really well done, and I like the art and the colors and everything too. But I'm really excited to just kind of like play through more of these Leviathans and experiment with like different characters, because then you have a different build of a deck. And I mean, you probably know this, but like these cooperative games that are kind of card driven are my jam. And this one just has a very unique theme, a very unique table presence, and it feels very thematic. So Leviathan Wilds, I know I think they're doing a second crowdfunding campaign because they ran out of stock and everything. But I would highly recommend checking it out. There are lots of videos on it too, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. And it's like one of the co-op games that has like got me really excited about co-ops recently.
It's so cool that now there's so many video games turned into board games.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Mass Effect and North Romantic too, which are both video games that turned into board games that are also co-op. But we're not going to talk about those. You can go find them out on your own.
That's funny. And I'm not a video game person, so
yeah, me neither.
Like, you know, I think I knew that Dwarf Romantic was based on a digital game or a video game.
Yeah, PC game, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I kind of was hoping we would have time to play this one today, because it's one I definitely want to play with more people, want to share it with people, because I played it with my friend Steven, he backed the second crowdfunding campaign, and yeah, he was so excited, like as we were playing this game together, just like loved it. It's definitely a special one, and like lots of variety from the, like, some of the pages are laid out horizontally. Sometimes you're going to play and the Leviathan is going to be vertical, and there are all sorts of different changes on these different map pages with these different Leviathans. So I think this is another one that's going to like have lots to offer, lots of replay value. That's Leviathan Wilds.
So my next one is a cute, very cute theme. It is Good Dog, Bad Zombie.
You are the queen of cute themes here.
I love animal nature themed games. It's a definitely a stretch from zombies and and the farming of old. But we have a little mix here. This is Good Dog, Bad Zombie, designed by Evan Rowland and Brian Van Skyke. Released in 2025 because they just came out with a second edition, but it was originally 2018.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I did get a review copy of the very original game and did a stream of that, but I haven't looked at the new one. It's published by the Tessa Collective, TESA, and it's for 1 to 4 players. you are the good dogs that are running around Central Park, and you're going to sniff out these humans to herd them to safety from the zombies. You're going to lick each other to give each other love and energy. And you're going to bark and chew and run around to run off other packs of wild animals and get rid of these zombies away from your humans. And you're just trying to be the best doggo in order to save the most humans before the feral tracker reaches 10. Or else you become the wild feral dog.
Oh.
Yeah. It is so cute. So they've updated the art. They've given you some more playable dog characters. And they've upgraded some of the components as well. Because it's a bit of a light game in production wise. But now they have some experience under their belt, and now they've made it a very nicer component with more doggos to play, which is like the best part. Come on. So yeah.
Did you say the best bark?
The best bark. Oh!
Nice.
Yes.
I've never heard of that one either.
Really? Oh my gosh. Yeah, we got to play that one. Good dog, bad zombie.
Nice. Okay. So the last game on my list is a game that I discovered when I was looking around at people's Leviathan Wilds videos. And there's a channel called League of Games, hosted by a guy named Chris. But Chris had a video where he was talking about, like, I think maybe it's like top 5 co-ops, maybe? Do not quote me on any of this. For all I know, it could be a different YouTube channel that had this list, but I'm pretty sure it was League of Games. And on this list, he had Leviathan Wilds in there. I'm pretty sure he had Cthulhu Death May Die also, which I discovered last year and love. And the only reason I'm not mentioning it properly is because I've talked about it before. But I really, really like that game. And he had on his list a game from 2020 that I completely missed. You could say I was out of the loop.
Oh!
The game is called The Loop. And this is a game that came out in 2020, as I just said, by Maxime Remberg and Theo Riviere. And it was originally published by Ketchup Games, and then I think Pandasaurus, and it plays with 1 to 4 players. So I tracked down a copy. It's kind of hard to find now because it's not in print, and I found a copy on eBay. And now I'm trying to find the first expansion. I have the second expansion, so hit me up if you're getting rid of that first expansion, anybody. But in The Loop, thematically, it is kind of like a time travel game where you have this evil boss guy called Dr. Foe, and Dr. Foe is trying to basically create these vortexes in time and just do bad stuff. And you are playing as a character who is trying to stop that. And the game board for this is kind of, it's not circular fully, but there are slices for different eras, like starting with the dawn of civilization. There's like Renaissance, something, but there are 7 eras. And I think the last one was like the end of times or something like that. So you have this sectional board that's really cool art. I really, really like the art style. So in the center of the board, you have this contraption that you will be dropping every round these red translucent cubes that are like rifts in time. And after you drop them in, it's almost like a mini dice tower. There are 3 little slides that these cubes will shoot out. And it's so well designed that they will always like go into one of the 3 eras that it's kind of pointed to. Sometimes they all go in 1. Sometimes they spread equally in 3. But it's always just like a fun thing to drop these cubes. You'll be nervous too. Once these cubes get dropped in, whatever eras they get, they land in, these rift cubes, you put them on a space. Like there's a space for these cubes, and I think there are 3 spaces. Yeah, there are 3 spaces for each of the red cubes, and anytime you have 3 and another one or more get dropped in there, Dr. Foe is going to have a vortex moment. So I guess I should have mentioned, like, around the board, around the perimeter of the board, you're going to set it up with these mission tiles, and your goal in the opening scenario for this game, which is called Sabotage, that's the one they recommend you start with, you need to complete 4 missions. And there are 2 that start face up at the beginning of the game. And then as you complete one, you will then reveal another one. So I think they're always going to be 2 face up. But the challenge is when these rift cubes overflow an era, we're going to have to remove that mission, whether it was revealed or not. And then we have to put a vortex tile there. And that is bad, because the other thing that I love about this game is there's deck building. Whatever character you're playing, you'll have a special ability. You'll have a deck of cards. And the cards have one of 3 icons on the top. Actually 4 technically, because there's a black hole one. And one of the cool things about this game is that all of the cards are going to be, or each card is going to be associated with one of the eras. So at the beginning of each player's turn, they're going to be a new card is going to come off the top of the deck and go into the era around the board. And if you end your turn there, you just get to pick up one of the cards in the era that you end your turn, if there is one. But if there's a vortex, you're not going to have any cards there anymore. Sorry. And you're missing, so there's 7 eras, 7 missions. So as you start losing them, you need to win 4 missions. So it starts to get pretty scary, but you're going to be adding cards to your deck. When you gain cards, they go to the top of your deck, which is really cool because let's say I stop in the green zone. I don't remember which era that was. There could be 2 cards there. And I'm which one is best for me to use on my next turn? Because I'm going to take it and put it on the top of my deck. Now, the actions are pretty straightforward. You can always flip your character to get a free move. There are also these green translucent cubes on the board, which are energy. You can, if there's an energy in your space, you can spend one to move to an adjacent era. But the game is called The Loop. And here's the coolest thing. Well, I don't know if this is the coolest thing, but it's pretty cool. If you are in a space with a green energy cube, you can loop. So basically, when in this game, your cards are never in your hand. They're in front of you on the table. They're representing your hand of cards. But as you use an effect on a card, you're going to exhaust it and rotate it 90 degrees. And when you take a loop action, you're going to get to pick one of 3 icons and, spend that green cube. And then you're going to refresh every card that matches that icon. Typically, it's only 3 cards. Sometimes you're able to draw a card, which will come in ready. So you can synergize and do some cool stuff. But it's hey, if I have a lot of swirly icons in my deck, maybe I want to lean into that so that hopefully I have turns where I draw all 3 swirly icons. Then I use all those abilities, do cool stuff, and then I spend a green to loop. You can loop multiple times. Each time it costs an additional green. And one of the other things I didn't mention is on the board, Dr. Foe has all these clones. And this is really neat because at the start of your turn, a certain amount of clones are going to spawn onto the board. And on one side of them, it shows you the art for the error that the clone is going to go. Then you flip it over and it has a different error, and it has Dr. Foe's face because it's a clone of him. And you're going to be trying to push and pull those clones around to the zone that they belong to, because that's how you destroy them. And some of the missions are related to destroying them. Some of them are, getting energy, removing these rift cubes, all sorts of stuff like that. But the clones, you want to get rid of them because when you drop those red cubes, it's always 2 plus the amount of clones in Dr. Foe's current era. So this game is just like, it's just really hitting for me. It's the art, I put like clear coin capsules on the tokens. There's a tactile, like really cool tactile experience. I love playing it with other players, and I love playing it solo. Like when you play solo, you play with multiple characters, and it's super cool. You combine the cards from each of those characters into one deck, and you kind of reveal them until one of the characters has 3 cards. And as you add cards to the deck, you can decide which character you want to give it to. And I just really like this. This game is like really, really hitting a sweet spot in my brain. And there's just something I love about it. I love the art. I love the dropping the cubes, like the tactile experience. And I love the challenge. I feel like I keep losing solo. Like I need somebody to work with me on this. But yeah, I'm super late to the party. I have no idea why this game is not in print. It's really good. Like it's really good. I think it should be. I hope somebody starts printing it again, and I hope I find a copy of the second expansion. The other thing I'll mention about it is that there are 4 different victory conditions that you can play with. Each of the characters that you can play have like their own ability. Oh, the chunky meeples. You have these huge like wooden pawns for each of the characters. And yes, I did order stickers for them because there's somebody on Etsy makes stickers for meeples, and I'm like, these meeples are definitely like sticker worthy. They're huge. So anyway, I will stop gushing. I really have been enjoying the loop, and I can't believe I'm late to the party.
Yeah, I played it when it first came out, but I haven't played it since. But it is on Board Game Arena. So even if you can't find it, you can try it. Yeah, on Board Game Arena.
Everything's on Board Game Arena
I know.
these days. Wow.
I know. So many great games.
All right, well, you have one more game you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, it's a very small little 18-card game called Apropos. And there's 2 versions, Apropos of board games, Apropos of movies, by Peter Hayward from Button Shy. Now, Apropos is coming out this year in 2025. It is for 1 to 8 players. And basically, what happens is you are naming a movie title or a board game. So let's say a board game.
The Loop.
The Loop. Okay. Now you're going to flip over a card, and the card might say has an expansion. So the Loop has an expansion. So the next game you must name must not have an expansion.
Oh.
So name another game that does not have an expansion. Looking around her
Bomb Busters, which is another. That was me thrown in another co-op that I love, but I talked about.
Okay, so now we have Bomb Busters. So then we're gonna say, flip over a card. It has a European designer. Does Bomb Buster have a European designer?
No.
So now you need to name a board game that does not have a European. That does have a European, but does not have any expansions.
Oh snap! La Havre? Does that have an expansion?
So it has
stress.
So now you have a game that has a European expansion. European designer, It does not have an expansion. You flip over the next card, and it must be set in the future because Le Havre was not set in the future.
Oh.
So now and you keep on naming things cooperatively until you cannot. And there's just arbitrary, there's a rule about how you win and stuff. But I love playing it just as a way to fill time while you're waiting for another game. It's from Button Shy, so it's like very low price
games.
I know, right? So it's so great. Peter Hayward is like on fire. He also is putting out Casinopolis, which is in their Sprawopolis. Yeah.
Agropolis. There's so many Opolises, but Casinopolis does sound cool.
And so, he's also doing a lot of stuff with All Play right now. But yeah, he's on fire. So go check out Apropos just to keep it in your back pocket. It's a nice apropos. Apropos of board games or apropos of movies.
Awesome. And I would be remiss if I did not mention a couple of honorable mentions here. Like I said, Cthulhu Death May Die. I've now purchased a lot of extra bonus content for that. I'm gonna try to hopefully get somebody to help me paint the minis. I just been wanting to revisit that game so much. I also have been really loving Purple Haze, which is a game from Phalanx that is super unique because it's a historical story creation cooperative game about the Vietnam War. And I will talk about this more when I play the whole campaign, but it's really good. And it's the mechanisms are really good. The stories, the characters. It's one of those games where you don't necessarily care about winning so much, but more about what's happening to your squad of Marines. And, spoiler alert, one of mine just found a dog. And it's really cool. But yeah, I want to play through it more before I talk about that one properly. I also thought about Peacemakers, Horrors of War. Again, that's in that space of Defenders of the Wild. Really cool theme where you're trying to get warring animal factions to stop wanting to go to war. And you're trying to lower their motivation to a certain level so that they are not interested in fighting each other. Bomb Busters, Décorum on the I just got into
new
Décorum.
Expansion of Décorum where you get the plastic bubble wrap because you're moving.
I gotta get the expansion for Décorum.
Yeah, you do.
But I just got hip to Décorum. I mean, I knew about it. I just hadn't played it until last year, and I'm really that's another one that I really like. I also played a few scenarios of a prototype copy of Eternal Decks from that the designer hooked me up with. And that game is super cool. I need to go get back to that. Another really unique co-op. And then you might have noticed there aren't any adventure games on this list. And, adventure games are near and dear to my heart, but I've talked about them a lot. So I kind of was I'm not going to include any of those, but I did want to give a shout out to Fateforge, Chronicles of Khan. It is one that I've talked about before that I really enjoyed. I interviewed Gordon Kalea on Cardboard Creations, and they have a new Kickstarter for a second printing of this. I think it's sometime this month, and a new expansion called Kin of the Wild, where you get to have pets. So you have this really cool adventure puzzly game that's app driven and so smooth and well produced and well designed. And now you get to have pets.
A new game with pets is a good game. I have quite a few honorable mentions as well.
Go for it.
And none of them are repeats. So Smirk and Dagger has two really fun co-ops. The Night Cage and the Spill. So in the Night Cage...
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. This is so creepy. It has a new expansion. You are prisoners, but you only have one candle, so you can only see one square away from you.
That's
and
great.
It moves. The map moves as you move, and squares disappear, and then they come back, and there might be a monster. And with the expansion, you're following into a pit with a monster, and you gotta climb back out. It is great, even though I don't like horror. It is a really good horror-themed cooperative game.
I played that one, Night Cage, quite a few times. I ended up selling my copy just because, we can't keep them all, but I really liked it. I like the look and feel of it, and like thematically, like you said, the fact that you're moving around, but you don't have much light around you, so the map is kind of changing because you don't know where you're going. That's cool.
It's crazy. And then the other one is The Spill. It's about oil spills.
Oh yeah.
And you literally put an oil rig together in the middle of the board, and that's where you're dumping the cubes, just like in the loop, into the oil rig, and it's going to spill out in different sections of the ocean. And you got to run around collecting all these animals and, saving them from the oil and cleaning up the oil. And it is such a hard game.
Really? Yeah. I remember seeing this whenever it was first at Gen Con or some convention. And I was like, wow, this looks cool. And I got a demo of it and I totally forgot about it right now.
Oh my gosh. Me and Kurt, who's the owner of Smirk and Dagger, we lost so bad. But my next game is Corpse of Discovery, a game set in the world of Manifest Destiny, which is a comic. So it's a board game themed by a comic from Sen and Jay. And it is really interesting. It's kind of like you are, discovering things, but the map changes because you slide the actual what you can discover in and out of the board, and you have tokens that you're flipping over, but each of the items has certain rules to them, so you can kind of deduce and to know what area a certain thing that you need is. I played a demo copy of it, and it was very fun, so I'm really interested in playing a full game of it.
I can't believe I forgot to mention Unsettled.
Oh my gosh.
I was telling you about it earlier today, but I guess that's sort of adventure. It's like a survival game on space. Anyway, love Unsettled too.
Nice.
Okay, go ahead.
My last two are Horrified. There's a whole series by Ravensburger of Horrified.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it, never played.
Oh, it's so great because you get the classic horror monsters like Dracula, Frankenstein. But the two new ones is Horrified Greek Monsters and Horrified World of Monsters. And the fun thing is that they have their own individual puzzles depending on what monster you choose. And they can be mixed and matched with each other. So you can mix and match monsters. Yeah. And you're running around trying to save the villagers while staying away from the monsters and trying to, destroy them as one does. But it is a fun co-op, very thematic, and it's one of those that you definitely want to play with the people that are really into the theme, right? Because it's so much more fun. And lastly, we have Sky Team.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. And it is on BGA with expansions. And, oh, my gosh. I just play
Sky Team is
over
dope.
and over again. It's only for 2 players, but you are a pilot and co-pilot. The dice hate you, but you can drink coffee. You can drink coffee to help you out. You get a couple of rerolls, but man, you gotta look at everything. You gotta level yourself out. You gotta make sure you're at the right speed. You have brakes. You gotta, put down your landing gears, get the flaps right, and then they throw other stuff at you, like kerosene or ice on the road, or storms. And oh my gosh, it is
so
such
good.
a good game. Yeah.
So tense and thematic, and yeah, Sky Team is dope. Yeah. But Amanda, we just shared a ton of cooperative games, and it's really cool kind of talking to you about them because, while we overlap in our taste, clearly, you're playing some things and you're aware of some things I've never even heard of, but they sound really fun. And thanks for sharing those with me and the BGG podcast listeners, because, we just talked about a bunch of we just talked about a bunch of cooperative games. Some were trick-taking games. But yeah, it was super fun, and it was super fun playing a couple of these co-ops with you today.
Yeah, and I love how we have this middle ground that we both are but like you said, there's some games I'm like, what? I've never even heard of them. How can I not have heard of them? But there are thousands of games coming out, and I'm so glad we have such a variety.
Yes.
Because you can find the game that speaks to you and your group.
Totally. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming over to record with me.
Oh, thank you for having me and playing games with me.
Anytime. We'll do it more this year. I promise.
I'm going to hold you to it. I'm going to record this podcast recording and play it back for you.
Yes, and I want to play Jumbo Takanoko.
Oh, absolutely.
You've been listening to the Board Game Geek podcast, produced and edited by Candice Harris. Special thanks to Matt Panda for editing and mixing our music. Be sure to visit us on the web at BoardGameGeek.com. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch under Board Game Geek. You can reach us by email at podcast@BoardGameGeek.com. Thanks for listening and happy gaming!